Hello, today our group will present about short story Her. My name is Aimin Ashraf. I will explain about the character in the story. There are four main characters in the story. However, the main character in the story is Mrs. Hamid and her husband, Mr. Hamid. I will start with Mrs. Hamid, where she is dedicated to her family, strong, good mother, responsible, and a loyal woman. This can be seen when she sacrificed her needs to ensure that her children were taken care of. In addition, she cared for her health because she did not want her children to live with their father new wife. She maintained harmony in the home without her husband. Other than that, she also joined a woman club and behaved in a mature manner when confronted by an uncomfortable situation with the second Mrs. Hamid. Mrs. Hamid is a resilient woman when she feels pain but chooses to put up a face. She also wanted to be an ideal wife and did not pursue many perceptive Mrs. Hamid as being the most responsible because she maintained the household independently. For example, got up her children every morning, had home cooked meals ready, and refused to show her frustration. Next, the second character is Mr. Hamid. He is a selfish, inconsiderate, immature, cruel, ungrateful, and weak. For example, he married another woman without telling his wife. He did not consider her feelings. The things that show him to be cruel is he constantly spoke about his new wife to his wife without any guilty and left his first wife to see his second wife whenever he wished. He did not spend much time with his children and had five more children with his first wife. From another angle, Mr. Hamid is a strong, self-assured, confident, and a devoted follower of Islam. He is successful, financially stable, active, and interesting. He had a right to take additional wife so long as he could support his family. He made an effort to return to both wives and he wanted his wife to have outside interests but she refused. Next, he support his children financially and did not spoil them. So Mr. Hamid has a positive as well as a negative character. The character of Mrs. Hamid too and Johan are not featured in this story. So that's all. That's all from me. I will leave to my friend. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Nick Aiman. I will continue our presentation about the plot of the short story Her. What is plot? Plot in very basic terms can be told of us that what happened of the story. There are 5 points in the plot, which is exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. The story began to expose from third paragraph where the wife telling about her elder son. She mentioned that Johan remind her about her husband. The exposition lead us to the mental health of Johan, where he felt members whenever the guests come over and asking about his dad. The wife already know that Johan's father was with other wife. The story continued where the husband became the main topic of conversation between friends, which they thought he is faithful husband. The other exposed us about the wife where she felt terrible loneliness that made her thinking about her children's future and the family future. Next, rising action. This plot can be shown when the wife asks her husband about his other wife. The story became interesting where they were arguing about their marriage. The wife bring up about her weakness and what else she could offer to strengthen this marriage again. As a story mentioned, cooking, take care of household and etc. I want to quote from the story itself where the wife said, I have already given you children, an organized household, home-cooked meal, immaculate clothes, a warm and ready welcome for you and all your friends. All you have ever wanted, I have given you before you have had to ask twice. Think about it. I droned on in my maternal tone while he remained silent, giving no response at all. Next, climax. The climax began when both of were talking about her. She begged him to leave her. We can see that the climax expands at where the first wife joins women's club which soon to hold an event where second will be managing the event. Also, the first wife became less enthusiastic about her. I would like to quote a part of story when she said, the longing I usually felt when my husband with her became almost non-existent. It was easier and easier to welcome him with a smile because I no longer felt so desperately lonely when he was away. Then falling ancient. We can see the falling ancient when the event happens. The first wife decides to go to the event which she knows that she will meet her rival. And the last one is a resolution. The story resolves where the first wife realized that her rival has the same intention to make her husband happy as much as she wants. Besides, she also appreciates her because she has graceful manner. Now she realized that everything is turning back to normal where the husband, the other wife and her will be happy.
Hello, I am Farhan. Next, I will explain more about the theme in this story. First, problematic relationship. This story is about a family in chaos. This situation occurred because Mr. Hamid had married to another woman and the marriage was known to his wife, Mrs. Hamid. The conflict became more serious when Mrs. Hamid asked the question about the wedding that evening. His wife asked the question to her husband to confirm whether her husband was married to another woman or not. The answers given by Mr. Hamid had hurt his wife's heart until a big fight broke out. Mr. Hamid told his wife that he was married to another woman, but eventually his wife accepted the news with an open heart. Secondly, lack of love. This story tells about the lack of love in a family. Mr. Hamid is willing to leave the house and leave his children and wife just want to go other woman home. Mr. Hamid also did not give enough love to his children and wife. As a head of family, Mr. Hamid should give enough love to his wife and children. Every woman's being needs enough love in life. Lack of love causes one's life to feel isolated. For example, the son of Mr. Hamid, Johan, feels unloved due to lack of attention and love from his father in a family. Apart from that, Mr. Hamid also did not give enough love to his wife. As a husband, Mr. Hamid should always be with his wife during good and bad times. Thirdly, self-sacrifice. This story tells of the self-sacrifice of children and wife when left behind by husband and father. For example, Mrs. Hamid was abandoned by her husband because she did not want the children to see her as a weakling. Mrs. Hamid also always hides his feelings instead for embracing them because she maintained his marital harmony. Son of Mr. Hamid, Johann also persevered in accepting his father's action. He always avoided answering questions about his father if asked by their friends. Self-sacrifice is very important in our life. Lastly, this story tell about open-minded. This story tell of a woman who has an open-minded. When she finds out her husband has married to another woman, she doesn't grieve for long, but she tries to think of positive things. For example, Mrs. Hamid thinks her life will be free without her husband. She can spend a lot of time with association activities. Mrs. Hamid was also willing to attend the convocation ceremony, even though she was still fighting with her husband, and treated her husband well at the ceremony.
Hi, Madam and everyone. For my part, I will explain about style and technique. There are six items which is setting, suspense, conflict, narrative technique, dialogue, and the last one is monologue. Firstly, I would like to talk about narrative technique. In this story, the writer used narrative style as sustained structure. The narrative technique that this author used is first person, which is Mrs. Hamid's. The main character tell about her broken marriage life. For example, in this story, he could live without demands from his pussy children and his immature wife. As he came to the bend in the road past our house, he would look back at the 10 children lined up in front of the door. He would wave at them, but no one would with back. They will know that their father was not going to his office, but rather to another home, which is second wife. Secondly is setting. The setting describe where and when the story take place. There are two items which is time and place. So first we go to time, we have evening. For example, Mrs. Hamid looking for an answer why her husband wanted to remarry. Next night, Mr. Hamid talk about her, and the last one is morning. Her children asked to buy new pair of shoe and a school uniform. Furthermore, we talk about place. First, Jakarta. Second, house, which is Mr. Hamid go to second wife house. And next, convention hall. Second wife attend Mrs. Hamid's organization, and the last one is rostrum. For example, please, madam, come to the rostrum. I hear a gentle voice and look up into a lovely young face. Thirdly, dialogue. Dialogue is any conversation in a storybook, film, and so on. It can be seen when she asks Mr. Hamid about her. For example, so you marry her? Yes, why not? Could not you have stopped short of marriage? You already have one wife. I can deal with all you need. Can I? Moreover, monologue is a long speech by one actor in any story. For instance, I made my way to the speaker's platform to the accompaniment of applause. Why do they applaud me? I wonder. Possibly the rather impressive reception was a joke, or possibly it was praised for her graciousness in handling over the chairpersonship of the meeting to me. Next part is suspense. Suspense is feelings of excited or anxious uncertainty about what may happen. It can be seen in the story when the meeting was called to order and Mrs. Hamid was elected chairperson. I assume it was I be named. It had completely slipped my mind that she too was Mrs. Hamid. Last part is conflict. Conflict is dispute or contradiction between individuals. The conflict of hers short story happens to Mr. Hamid and Mrs. Hamid. Here, Mr. Hamid want to marry again. He do that because he has reasons why he want to marry again. Like in their conversation, when Mr. Hamid asks about it. Like in their conversation, when Mr. Hamid asks about it. For instance, in the story, so you marry her? Yes, why not? Could not you have stopped short of marriage? You already have one wife. I can deal with all you need. Can I? Are you sure of that? Aren't I enough to make you happy? I already give you children, an organized household, home cooked meal, immaculate clothes, a warm and ready welcome for you and all your friends. However, Mr. Hamid still to polygamy.
Lastly, overall impressions about this short story. The overall impression about this short story is the family relationship will be better if all parties play a role and are tolerant of each other. Based on this story, Mr. Hamid should have gotten permission from his wife first before getting married. Mr. Hamid's act of keeping his marriage with another woman a secret to his wife is a wrong act. As a wife, Mrs. Hamid should care about her husband and spend a lot of time with her husband. That's all from us. Thank you.